Ooh! It is your witchy friend Grace from Small World's Big Adventures with a little Spooktober announcement before a review of the heart-stopping game, The Thing, the board game. This week we'll be giving away a game from our personal collection. This week's game is Hako Onna, a heart-stopping game about trying to escape a haunted house. To qualify, you must live in the United States and comment on at least one video this week, October 22nd through the 28th. We will then randomly choose a winner from the comments. Also, everyone who comments throughout the month, the 1st through the 30th, will be entered for a brand new copy of Horrified, a maddening cooperative board game with iconic monsters. We'll announce the winner by commenting on one of the winning person's comments and announce on each Sunday's video who has won. The more videos you comment on, the greater your chance to win. So let us know your thoughts on each game. Hi, I'm Gracie, and this is Scott from Small World's Big Adventures, and today we are going to be reviewing The Thing, the board game.
Yep, The Thing, the board game. It's for 1 to 8 players, plays in 60 to 90 minutes.
That might be short.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little sus, given our experience. You can get it for about $60. Setup is 15 to 20 minutes. It's a little on the long side. The board game is a hidden role game. Some of you will start as the Thing, and some of you will start as humans. You are, as humans, trying to gather enough resources to start the helicopter or the half-track snow vehicle, or you're trying to contact the rescue copter to come pick you up. And then you're trying to get off the base without letting any of the things escape with you. Otherwise, you lose. Yeah. The Thing player then tries to turn all the human players into Thing players or escape on the helicopter. Kind of the big difference with this versus a lot of other hidden role things is the Thing player can become a monster pretty much at any time instead of staying hidden, or they can stay hidden. And the monsters try to actively kill the players, or you can try and remain hidden and then see if you can escape on one of the vehicles. And if you do that, then you also win. So
because you'll be corrupting the whole world after that.
Yep.
In this game, and in the movie, from what I understand, the puppies get turned into things. And so my question to you, is a Thing puppy still a very good baby? And I would say yes.
Okay. No, they're not so good in the board game. They'll
mess your day up. But it wasn't their fault.
No.
And they're still very good babies.
Sure.
When we rate games, it is on a 5-point scale from terrible, bad, mixed, good to excellent. And to kick it off, we're going to talk about player agency. I think it's good. You are in this base, a pretty contained map, if you will.
Yeah.
You pretty much have the freedom to go anywhere in the map. Your choices may be impacted by what other players are doing, and also your desire to be with other players, knowing that a Thing is out there.
Yeah, I also put good. This is another one of those games where you're kind of playing on a razor's edge. And if you make the wrong choice...
Because you also have to, keep it heated and stuff like that.
There are basically everything going wrong every turn.
Yeah.
There are too many things in this game for you to fix.
Yeah.
And that's... something I can discuss later because it's not really part of player agency, except that if you're doing the wrong thing, it's bad.
Yeah.
And in this game, even beyond others, I can go anywhere, but every character has some sort of specialty.
Yes.
And if they're not doing their specialty, that can be a problem. So it kind of pigeonholes you into doing specific things.
Yeah.
I still said good because, for instance, the food guy's specialty helps with food, which you need, but also sometimes somebody needs to be over there with the fuel, and sometimes it has to be him. And there is always something you are doing, but yes, if you can do too many of the wrong things, and then things can start to slip. So agency in this one's a little bit odd, but I did say good.
Mechanics-wise, how do you think it goes?
Good. It is a little, again, razor's edge of things can start spiraling pretty bad.
Mhm.
A lot of the things that can go wrong, though, except for food, specifically like heating and electricity can be fixed.
Yeah.
Not easy to do, but it is possible. So there is that, which is good. But unfortunately, you also have the thing trying to mess you up at every turn. It feels to me like this one isn't. This one can easily get overwhelming, but it gets there pretty honestly, I guess is the way to put it. Sometimes it's a little hard to figure out which of those games that you kind of like, which of them you don't. I feel like the mechanics work well in the sense of adding to this dread of things just getting more and more wrong, which makes sense. You're not trying to fix the bait, you're trying to leave it.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if the whole thing shuts down as long as you can get the helicopter fixed and fueled up enough that you can leave, then you're out.
If you're one fuel away from fueling the helicopter, you don't worry about fixing
you don't care about food, you don't care about and to that end, I think the mechanics are good. They work well as long as you understand that is your goal. Your goal isn't to keep the fuel pump going the entire time.
Yeah. No, I agree too. The way you kind of move around, the way you test to see if you become the thing and things like that, all of it plays well together. Now, having said that, like, this is not a simple game.
No.
There are a lot of dynamics there. There's a lot of things you have to balance. Ideally, somebody will have read the instructions and played the game 1 or 2 times.
Yeah, your first couple of games are going to be a bit rough.
Yeah. But having said that, the mechanics aren't cumbersome. You're not wondering why X, Y, or Z happens. They flow well together and they make sense in regards to like the theme and how it plays out.
Yeah.
Components wise, I said mixed to good, and I would say depending on what version you have. When I was like researching for this, there was games that had like printed people, and the game we played had standees, and then also there was ones where like there was these cute little tokens for like if you tested positive or didn't test positive and stuff like that too. So like there's definitely like higher quality versions you can get. But in general, it's good. Like even if you get the worst quality one, you'll have the higher end of mixed, in my opinion. If you get the nicer ones, you're solidly good to maybe even excellent.
Yeah, I also said good. The map is decent. The components are decent. You got the cards and stuff. It's a enhanced edition or whatever. Which if you don't have, then your mileage may vary a little bit. But even then, the price for the game isn't too bad. It's pretty good. It's one of those again where if you're using standees and not figures, then we like to ding you a little bit for that. But the components are good.
Yeah. Theming, I said good. To me, it feels like you are trapped in a little space with something that could infect you. I don't feel like I can speak more to that because I've never seen the movie.
Yeah.
So I can't speak to like if you've seen the movie, it aligns well or not. So I will turn it over to you.
One of my favorite movies, it's my favorite horror movie of all time, is The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. Theming is excellent. It's a hidden role game, which always adds an air of paranoia to your gameplay. And for the theme for this, that works well because that's basically the theme of the movie. Everything works mechanics-wise, gameplay-wise, and theming-wise into essentially what I said. You're trying to leave. Things have already essentially gone terribly wrong at the beginning of the game. You're not sticking around for that. You just want to get out and make sure that none of the things can go with you. And so everything basically works in conjunction with doing that. There are dogs in the game, and just like in the movie, some of the dogs are some of the dogs can be the thing. So if you're in a location where dogs are running around, there's a chance that you then become infected. Just being with other players increases your chance of being infected. You never know until they become an actual monster on the board, you never know who it could be. There are ways to find out who's infected, but they're flawed and they're not that many. It just, everything works well to kind of capture some of the feeling that the movie expressed, and I think does it in a really good way.
Going off of that, the game's enjoyable. I am not sure if I would call the thing a zombie, but it has a lot of dynamics of like other zombie games, and we all know I hate a zombie. But I did enjoy this game, and I thought it was a good time. The right amount of stress without being just daunting and soul killing. So I thought it was a good time.
Yeah, my enjoyability of this is also good. I rate it good. It's just fun. I like a well-designed secret role game. I've played a few that aren't as good, and then some that are really good. And I would put this up there as towards the top of the pack. I think you and I would agree we both enjoy Battlestar Galactica as a secret role game is probably our favorite. And this, I would say, is not as good as that.
No.
But, it gets close. Similar themes where you've got an emergency every round that you're basically taking care of. Another good one is Dead of Winter, and I probably like Dead of Winter more than this too. But I do really enjoy this one.
Well, I would agree. Both of those are preferred for me. That is not to say that like I wouldn't recommend this at all.
Oh yeah.
Solid and good.
Definitely.
For my final thoughts, this game is very good at like creating that sense of paranoia. The times I've played, we have played with low numbers. And I think it is easier to avoid that paranoia feeling because it's easy to just not be with people. There's enough rooms that you guys can spread out. Having said that, like, I think if you played with the 8 or even like 5, 6, however many above, like, one, it's going to be easier to keep things running in general. But also like that paranoia of like, who's the thing, who's not the thing, who's infected, like all that is also going to increase. Now, having said that, playing with 4, you still had that. In our last game, we were able to prove that 2 people were not the thing several times in some cases, but 2 people were never proved. And that whole game, those 2 people were looking at each other going, so that paranoia still exists. As I mentioned, the more players there are, more paranoia there is. I think it's going to be harder to have a solid win for the not thing people. Just because it's going to be, at least one of the versions is you determine who gets to get on the helicopter, and the last person on gets to decide if the next person goes. So the hard to know how confident you are with letting those people onto the helicopter. And lastly, I don't want to point fingers, but if you're going to play the game, make sure you put a thing token in the hidden roll things. Because by some chance, if everyone's humans and there was no thing, you could still lose. Lay down.
Because all the humans have to escape. And
humans.
If you think surely one of them has to be a thing,
because there's going to be,
you vote them out, then you still lose.
Which, if that happens, it becomes more of an interesting like thought experiment in the line of like the Salem witch trial. There are no witches, but we think there are, and how do our actions reflect that? What are your final thoughts?
Jumping off one of the things you said, and then this is a good example of that. We played a number of hidden role games. I enjoy that genre quite a bit. But a lot of them that are like this, if you're not playing with the upper amount of people, don't work very well. Like you said, playing at 4 people, still a fun time, but it just doesn't, you can feel that it doesn't quite hit that mark. And I feel like this one, you want to play with a minimum of 6. We really enjoy Battlestar Galactica, but if you're playing with less than about 5, not as great. Dead
Dead of Winter.
Dead of Winter is kind of an exception to that because while it is a hidden role game, that hidden role is not always going to be a villain.
Yeah.
And so that's a bit more cooperative. And so you can play it at, even at 2 works all right. We've played things like Avalon, which is a hidden role game.
Secret Hitler, Resistance.
Hitler, and almost all of those, if you're playing with less than 6, are not great. Yeah. They're just not as good an experience as they are with more people. Yep. And this is, I think, one of those is you need more people. It's a fun thing where a lot like the movie, you can do a test and prove somebody's a human, but if next turn they are in a room with more humans, you don't know if they got turned now. So it can basically ruin all of that unless they try to make sure that they're off on their own, which can be a problem in and of itself. And to that end, it hits the right mood. Yeah. The movie is about kind of this paranoia and this increasing disaster essentially in this place. And the game is that. It does a great job of hitting that.
I've said a couple times this month of like, it can be hard for a board game to evoke the same feelings as like a horror movie would. Yeah. And I would say this is the exception to that. Like, from what I understand, the movie is about paranoia, and you definitely feel that by the end of the game. Yep,
sure. Yeah, I'd love to play this a few more, especially with more players. The final part of the game, assuming everybody doesn't get turned, is the humans escaping. Yeah. And it very much could be you're guessing at that point, which I kind of don't like.
That's fair.
Sometimes you get that with these hidden role games anyways, but you're guessing at a point where it's just, it could almost just be a coin toss as to whether or not you've won or lost.
Yeah.
And that's not great, at least for the humans.
But accurate for if that actually happened.
Yeah.
We kind of touched on this already. If you like hidden role games, especially ones like Battlestar Galactica or Dead of Winter, you're probably going to like this game. Yep. Also, I would say if you like kind of any of those like survival games, again, this hits the Dead of Winter of like, you have the harsh elements that are coming into effect, but then you're also like battling something else.
Yeah. I mean, this one's harder because it's designed, I think, so that you're slowly losing that.
Yeah.
But yes.
But if you enjoyed our review of The Thing, the board game, I will say, before we go on, if you want to play this game, it is specifically The Thing, the board game.
Yeah. What are there, 3 of them?
There are 3 The Thing games. We played this at a friend's house. It was a friend's board game. And then we tried to order it. And in my head, the boxes looked near identical.
Well, and the boards are really similar.
Boards very similar. But we ended up getting The Thing, I think, at Outpost 31 or something like that. So again, we were specifically reviewing The Thing, the board game. But if you enjoyed our review of The Thing, the board game, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to hear more board game reviews, gamekeeper tips, tabletop DIYs, you can go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified next time we upload. So if there's nothing else, we'll see you next time.